Yes,
But
sir.
moving on, man, the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies were also in purgatory with issues arising with John Morant on and off the court this season. Trading Desmond Bain this offseason and trading Jaren Jackson Jr. at the deadline this year. The question the Grizz asked themselves constantly was, where's our future headed? After finishing 13th in the West with a 25-57 record, that answer is much clearer now. The Grizzlies are headed towards a war chest of draft picks, starting with the lottery pick in a great 2026 draft class. Unfortunately for Memphis, they still need to pick up the pieces and put everything together, especially on the defensive end, where Memphis ranked 27th in the NBA in defensive rating, allowing 118.4 points per 100 possessions. I mean, Zach Edey needs to be healthy. They can't guard anybody on the interior. And after trading Jaren Jackson Jr. away, they ranked bottom third in defensive rating post All-Star break. It was not pretty. It was not pretty. I would watch games with Memphis and part the Red Sea. There was a play that Wemby had the other day. I don't know if you saw it. On a fast break, he grabbed the rebound, just dribbled through everyone. Obviously, it's Wembanyama, but still just no effort there. I've seen that a lot from the Grizzlies, unfortunately. That's what happens when guys are hurt who can play defense very well, and you got Jalen Wells, G.G. Jackson, who are more offensive-minded guards on your team. The bleeding also didn't stop there, unfortunately. The Grizzlies surrendered an average of 44 field goals made per game, which ranks sixth worst in the NBA during the year. Their superstar, John Morant, would play. He wasn't his normal self, unfortunately, either, averaging 19.2 points per game, which is the lowest since his sophomore season. CJ, how did you feel about Ja's performance this year and all the talks and things going on with him? We have not spoken about him at all recently,
yeah. I think that is it's a good example of how I feel about his season. The fact that we didn't even bring him up in talks.
Much.
I think it kind of just shows what
good point. I didn't even think about that.
You know what I mean? Because that's a great
he wasn't doing nothing to talk about.
Yeah, just even when he was on the court, I feel like everyone was talking about him being traded. You know, the talks of Trey, Ja, and then LaMelo at the beginning of the season, where these players what team would they get traded to, this and that. I mean, I think that was probably the last time we talked about Ja, honestly. So I think it kind of speaks for itself. Right. You know, not much talk-worthy points about his season, and I think it shows with the record for the Grizzlies as well. Just disappointing for sure, but with all the draft picks they have, I think they have shown us where they're going with their timeline, and with the treasure chest full of picks, it kind of is where they're going. You know, building for the future. So.
That's respectable. Great answer right there. Good take. Overall, Memphis also struggled with their offensive efficiency. As you know, John Morant was struggling. They're probably going to struggle too. They ranked 23rd in the NBA in true shooting percentage. Also, for Memphis, this led them to finishing with the seventh worst overall net rating in the entire league with a minus 6.0. If everything goes according to plan this offseason, Memphis can focus on the 2026 NBA draft and who they'd like to select to improve their 25-57 record. I saw G.G. Jackson and Jalen Wells grow at the end of the season. I saw some good things from Memphis. Santi Aldama went out for the season. I remember putting him in the injury report a lot this year, CJ, and that's unfortunate because he was also having a career year. I think when Edey's healthy, he looks great. My question is just, can they get healthy? John Morant, in my opinion, needs to go. I know that might be another conversation for another day, but just seeing what his value is, you're not going to get a ton for him. You may only get one first-round pick, whereas 3 years ago you could have gotten 4. But since the landscape of the NBA has changed, you need to change with it. To CJ's point, getting the war chest of draft picks, Desmond Bain, 4 first-round picks incoming from Orlando, who we'll talk about in the Eastern Conference. They look ridiculous, man. I don't know if you saw their last game of the season where Franz and Desmond Bain, they yanked them and then ended up having to put them back. And the point is Orlando sort of a disaster. Desmond Bain played all 82 games and was one of the best players on Orlando, so not to his fault, but it just shows where the Grizzlies are on their timeline. Every game I saw was sort of out of sorts, especially at the beginning of the season with the John Morant stuff. I think he had a run-in with the media, and that kind of set their locker room off. I think that's why Jaren Jackson Jr. wanted to leave. He felt that the Grizzlies were tending to Ja more than him, and he's more consistent. Obviously got hurt this year too. So honestly, Jaren Jackson Jr. and John Morant didn't have the best years. But the point is the Grizzlies are in a situation where they control their destiny, which
Mhm.
always feels great. They're not hamstrung by, a horrible roster construction like the Bucks are, or they're not in the second apron like the Cavs. They have picks, unlike the Lakers, right? There's a lot of things that they're going to be able to do in their future, but this season struggled on the offensive end, struggled on the defensive end due to injuries. It's neither here nor there. But I think Memphis is going to have a good next 10 years. We'll see if they are able to get to the top of the West. I believe in them. They have a young roster. Like I said, Jalen Wells finished with a career high in points. I want to say JG Jackson was also hooping over the last month. Not too sure how many points he averaged, but he was performing well when given the minutes. They have some guys on that team that interest me. So I'm excited to see where Memphis ends up, man. I think this season overall, if I had to give it a rating, it's probably a 5 out of 10. They were probably expecting to make the play-in at least
Mhm.
if everything went according to plan, and it's a disaster, but they own all their picks, so it's not really a disaster. I think the Grizzlies fans understand now where their team actually is, and yeah, the seventh worst overall net rating in the league, -6. It's tough to be good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I feel like I've said this a lot about the Grizzlies, offseason files and, heading into the year, projections and whatnot. They always do a really good job of drafting. So the fact that they do have so many picks,
Good point.
I think it's a great sign for them. Like you said, leaning into the youth, honing in onto their development and their draft process. I think is going to be huge for them, and they've shown that they can do that.
Good
Memphis
point.
isn't a good or isn't a free agency
Huge market,
destination,
yeah.
so they need to capitalize on their picks. And then who's to say that they're not going to trade some of these picks potentially and make a huge splash on a free agent? They have a lot at their exposal to be able to make big moves and potentially shift their timeline.
Yeah.
So excited to see what that looks like for the Grizz, because I
A
think
lot of
they a
options,
lot of
right?
options, a lot of picks, and as a team that is in a rebuild and you
That's a
just
great
got rid of
point.
two of your best player and two out of your three best players. They're positioning themselves in a good spot, I believe. Just didn't have the
Yeah,
greatest
that's a
season,
good
of
point,
course.
CJ. Their player development's really good. I didn't bring that up once, but that also does save the Grizzlies in terms of their front office. That's a part of the front office that has to do with the players that people forget about. That really matters in this situation because the West is so deep. We
Mhm.
know that we're fine in the West, saying that stuff's clearly not true. I think the front office knew this, taking risk this season by trading Jaren Jackson Jr., understanding it was going to set them back to prepare for their future. If I'm a Memphis Grizzlies fan, I'm happy with this decision. I'm happy with how this season finished. Obviously, they think they won like 2 games over the last 15, so
Mhm.
not good,
Yeah.
not good from a win-loss perspective. But what they were doing behind the scenes, and to your point, what they've done, their track record in the draft is good. So, to me, the Grizzlies, out of the team, all the teams that we've talked about, are in the best position
Mhm.
that we've spoken about
Yep. Yes,
to
sir.
make
I
Grizzlies fan feel better.